Today is January 28th, 2004. My name is Janet Skank. I am the director of the Peabody Public Library, where we are. The veteran we are interviewing today is Leroy W. Coulter. Mr. Coulter, what is your birth date?
8th of July, 1930.
And what wars did you serve in?
I served in the Korean. I didn't go to Korea, but I was in during that period of time, and Vietnam War.
And what branch of the service?
U.S. Air Force.
U.S. Air Force. You grew up in this area?
Yes, I did.
Were you in Columbia City or Fort Wayne when you first went into the service?
Columbia City.
You were in Columbia City, okay. And you said you joined the Air Force during the Korean War?
Yeah, 1950.
1950. Why did you join?
They were going to draft me.
They were going to. They didn't get to draft
No,
you.
they didn't get to draft me, no.
How come you decided to join instead of wait to be drafted?
I just was ready to go at that time. I was working at the International Harvester. They was on strike. I was looking for a job. So I needed a job. So I thought, well, I'm going to get drafted anyhow, so I might as well join. So joined down here at the post office.
Down at the Columbia City Post Office? Were there a lot of people joining up from Columbia City at that time?
At that time, there was three of us in that particular group that went in. We was all working down in Morse's lumber yard, and we all went in.
Same branch of the service?
No, two of us went in the Air Force, one in the Army. In fact, I just seen the one in the Army this morning.
Were you married at that time?
No.
No. But your family was still in Columbia City?
I lived in Coessie, actually.
You lived in Coessie?
Yeah, right.
Mother, father, brothers?
Mother and father were both well, my folks were separated back when I was just a little kid. My mother was in Fort Wayne and my dad was in Coessie. My stepmother in Coessie.
How'd they feel about you joining up?
Oh, they knew was going to have to go anyhow, so they were behind it. They was fine.
So you enlisted during the Korean War.
Right.
Here in Columbia City.
Right.
What was it like? Does the Air Force have like a boot camp?
Oh yes, yes.
What was that like?
Well, we went from here to Indianapolis and got sworn in Indianapolis as a group, and then we got a train. The train came through there, and we picked up the whole bunch of us, and we went from there to San Antonio, Texas, and I got there probably around 11 o'clock at night, and sent us to a barracks, and we was in basic training for about 6 weeks is all, because they were in a hurry to get us out of there.
What kind of things did you have to do in basic?
Oh, there you did just things like learning the military standards, how to march, how to fire a weapon, and discipline, things like that.
And when you left basic, what was your rank?
When I left that base, private.
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 Where'd you go from there?
I went from there to Tacoma, Washington, McCord Air Force Base. As I went up there and didn't have a real job, and they asked me what I did before I went into service, and I said I worked at the International Harvester. He says, "Good, you're a truck driver." So that's what I got. Okay. I got into the motor transport outfit there, down on the base.
What was Tacoma like?
Tacoma was nice. I liked it. It was rainy, but we was there from December to August, and then they transferred me to England.
In Tacoma, you said you drove a truck.
Yes.
How about the other people? What kind of entertainment or anything did you have on the base there?
Oh, they had the USO had a dance every Saturday night, and being I was a bus driver, I wound up picking up the people in Seattle and Tacoma and bringing them to the base, and then taking them home afterwards. And so that's one of my jobs. It was at that time was driving the base bus and driving various vehicles, and I enjoyed it there. And but they were going to send me to Korea, so we volunteered to go to England. There was about 6 of us. Went from there and left there and went to Robbins Air Force Base, Georgia.
Well, I'm sorry?
Robbins Air Force Base, Georgia, and joined a group there that was getting together to go to England, which was called the 3rd Motor Transport Squadron. we trained there, we loaded all of our vehicles, our vehicles there at Warner Robins, and then they flew us to New Jersey, and from New Jersey we went on a ship, the USS Patch, General Patch, to England for after spending 7 days on the boat.
Did all your equipment go on the ship also?
The vehicles did not. We were trained there at Warner Robins with the vehicles.
Okay.
But then they was left there, and then we went over there, and then they shipped new vehicles to us over there, and we did nothing but transportation all over England, Scotland, Wales, delivering food supplies, delivering gasoline, delivering things like that.
To military?
Military bases.
Military bases.
Yeah.
Do you remember where in England you were stationed?
Yes, I was stationed at Sealand, which is up near Liverpool.
Okay.
And the big base up there was Brighton, excuse me, can't even think of it now. Anyhow, it's close to Sealand, but we spent there going on 4 years. It was a 3-year tour, but I extended a year. And made it 4 years over, almost 4 years over there.
That would have brought you to 1954?
55, so
55.
I came back, yes.
And I think the Korean War was over. The actual conflict was over by then?
It was over there by then,
Okay.
yeah. And so when I come back, it was either, I was going to either re-enlist or get out, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do at the time. And in fact, the matter is I came back from England and got married to the girl here in Columbia City.
In Columbia City. How'd you keep in touch with her when you were in England?
Letters.
Just letters?
Just letters.
Did she get to come to England at any time?
Yes, she did. She came over there after 2 years I was over there. Then she came over and spent the last 2 years there.
Oh, she was actually living in England then?
Yeah, she lived with
came back here and got married.
We lived there in an apartment, and spent the other 2 years after she got over there. So because I got married in 52, and she came over then in 52, and we stayed till 55.
Okay. Did you know her before you actually left? Okay.
Yeah. She went to Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about England a little bit. You said you were stationed right outside of Liverpool. What was England like? I mean, what was your impression?
I enjoyed it over there. It was quite an experience, driving on the wrong side of the road. Of course, we was, like I say, we was in transportation, so we was on the road. We always had to have another person with us in the truck, on the right-hand side, because all of our trucks over there were on the left-hand side. So we always had to have an additional driver. And we delivered new vehicles from the Liverpool dock. They brought new vehicles in for the bases over there, and one of our jobs was to convoy them to the base that they were going to, and then we'd get in the bus or the back of a 6x and transport back to the base again. We did that for about a year, I suppose, and then we got a different kind of a job. We was driving our own tractor trailers all over England. And I spent about several months up in Prestwick, Scotland, and got my first golf game up there.
You had to play golf in Scotland?
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. That was my first game, and we were stationed up there. We lived in with a Scottish family. They rented an apartment there there was 6 of us, 6 boys, and we stayed there and refueled aircraft as they came in on the Prestwick, Scotland base, and then we went back down to that was just before I got married.
So you came back to the United States and with your wife.
Yes, in 55 on the same ship I went over on.
Really?
Alexander Patch, yeah.
Interesting. And then you were trying to make a decision on whether to find a job somewhere or stay in the service.
I was going to go back and work for the Harvester. Well, it was on strike again. So we was in New York, and we either had to get our discharge papers or re-enlist, whichever. And we decided to stay in, so I re-enlisted there at New York. And I couldn't re-enlist and do the same kind of job I was doing before, because there was an overage in that type of AFSC that they had. So I wound up going into photography. So they sent us to friend of mine and I were both going together, and his wife was with us, and we went to Denver, Colorado to Air Force photography school for 16 weeks. So we spent, their wives came with us, and when I got back to home, I bought a trailer and pulled it out to Colorado, and stayed just across from Fitzsimmons Hospital out there in trailer court. And we went to school there, and after 16 weeks, it come on around in February of 1956 is when we left out there. And,
What kind of things were you taking pictures of?
well, at that time, it was the kind of photography that we was doing was what we called the general photography, like different, like pictures of people, ER pictures, such as an aircraft had a problem. We'd go take pictures of it and get to the direct point of where the picture needed to be taken, and then we did a lot of just general photography work, dipping in the solution and all that kind of stuff. You know, it can enlarge them and one thing or the other.
Did you get to take pictures like from the if you were in a plane taking pictures of ground or?
No, that was the aerial photography part of it, and
Ah.
I didn't get into that until later on. I went from Denver to Lockburn Air Force Base at Columbus, Ohio, and we were stationed there, and that was the kind of work we was doing then. And then they transferred me to Westover Air Force Base, Massachusetts, and then I got into aerial photography. And then it was the aircraft would take the pictures, bring it down. We'd take the film out of the cameras and come in and process them in a machine, print them on a long paper, and pictures, cut the pictures up, and leave them for things like that. And that was from that point. I got there in 57, and I stayed there at Westover until 1970 when I retired. But once you get into security type aircraft, air photography, they keep you.
Okay.
So we did all types of photography at that time. But while we were there, in 1966, I got assigned to go into Vietnam for a year. So we left there in January of '67 and spent a year in Vietnam. I did the same type of work that I was doing at Westover in Vietnam. The aircraft would go up, bomb damage, they'd come back, we'd take the film, print it, they'd look at their bomb damage, and go for the next day. That's the kind of work we did.
Where in Vietnam were you?
I was in Saigon.
At Saigon?
At Tan Son Nhut Air Force Base, and stayed there just a year. And I left there in December of '67, and they had the infiltration of the base. The Vietnamese infiltrated the base and blew up half the base, as far as that goes. But in 1968, there in January, during their Tet, which is their Lunar New Year, their New Year.
Was the Tet Offensive?
It was a Tet Offensive in 1968. But I had just left. A friend of mine, he was still there. We had to live off base because there was too many people on the base. So I was a tech sergeant at the time, and the tech sergeant above had to move off base. They had to get Vietnamese housing, or we rent. He had a pretty nice house, not bad, 3-story house, and there was about about 8 of us that lived in the same house, and we had a Vietnamese lady and her husband took care of the house, cleaned it, and did the laundry and things like that for us. And we back and forth to the base, about a mile off the base. But when they had that a friend of mine was in the house at home. He wasn't on duty at that time, and he wound up spending almost 4 days without going to the base. He had to stay in the house because they was bombing it and strafing it, and helicopters, and one thing and the other. And he come back home safe, and so did I.
Wonderful.
And I came back to Westover and stayed there till I retired. doing the same kind of work.
Retired then, you said in 1970?
That was 1970, yeah, November.
Um,
November 1st, 1970 was my retirement date. 20 years, even, almost.
When you were in Vietnam, did you get to interact a lot with the local?
We did. The people that had our house had younger boys, and we got acquainted with them quite well. And they invited this friend of mine and I out for supper to their house, which was very different.
And how was it different?
Oh, meals were different. I mean, they eat much different than we do. They eat beef and things like that, but they don't not fixed the same and so forth. But we went out for supper with them and at their house because they was graduating from one of the boys were graduating from Saigon College there, and they wanted us to come and visit with them there and his family.
Did you have a favorite Vietnamese food?
No.
No, you didn't like the Vietnamese food at all?
No, I didn't. I never had any favorite Vietnamese food. No, we ate at the mess hall at the base in most cases, or we ate at home. We ate at the house where we lived, fixed our own meals on occasion.
Now, I would think your wife wasn't allowed to be with you in Vietnam.
No, she was in the States yet.
What kind of things did you do for entertainment then in Vietnam?
In Vietnam, we had the NCO club. They had entertainment at the NCO club. They had the Airmen's club. They had the officers club, whichever was NCO. So we had the NCO.
What was
club.
your rank then while you were there?
At that time, tech sergeant.
I'm sorry?
Tech sergeant.
Yeah, okay.
And just before I got out, I made master sergeant. 2 years before I got out. And I made it after I got back to the States. So, because I had a couple years to go, of course, from 68 till 70 to go, and I made masters before I got out. But over there, the entertainment was mostly there wasn't much entertainment to be had. I mean, they had like the clubs they had, but it wasn't during the daytime. They had a movie house over there, which was air conditioned, which was great.
It was unusual?
Unusual, yeah.
Oh.
Our photography building, our photo building over there was a new building they built shortly after we got over there. And it was air conditioned because you had to have an air conditioning because of the film drying and things like that. It was too humid in the country to be able to dry film without an air conditioner, you know. So we had air conditioning in we worked 12-hour shifts. We'd work on 12 and off 12 for 6 days a week, and then we'd have 1 day off. We had Tuesday off.
Tuesdays off.
Oh no, I had a good time in the service. I mean, I have no regrets that the services had been. We wasn't making much rank, nor were we making much pay at that time. Things were kind of rough on them.
Can I ask you how much you were making?
At that time, when I first went in, it was about $178 a month, and then of course, as we made rank, it went up. Well, I was stage staff sergeant from the time 1955 until 1965. 10 years in the same rank, and nobody was making a promotion because it was between the Korean and the Vietnamese conflict. So therefore, everything was kind of stopped. But the amount of money I was making, about $600 or $700 a month, maybe $800.
Mm-hmm.
But today is quite a difference.
Is it?
Oh yes.
Have any idea how much they're making now? I have no idea.
Oh, at the same rank, they're probably making $3,000 a month, I would say, at the same rank as I was now. Of course, you have your allowances and so forth, your base housing allowance and things like that if you want in order to live. But I had 2 children, and both of them was in the service, or both of them retired after 20 years so far. One was in the Coast Guard, and she retired just a couple years ago, and I had a boy in the Army. He retired just a couple years ago. They went right into service right out of high school. And they were stationed all over. The boy was in the daughter, she went to Spain right away and spent time over there, and then she come back to the States and spent most of her time here in the States after that. And the boy, he was in the Army. He went to the Saudi Arabia during the Desert Storm. He was there, and he was stationed mostly in Fort Hood, Texas, and he's still living out there.
Still out there. You said you retired then in 1970. Was it just because you had reached your 20 years, or was there something, did you want to retire then?
No, I wanted to retire then. I mean, that was, I wanted to get out and get a different job. You do something else besides photography. I had enough of it. I worked daylight to dark in a dark room doing photo work, you know, and I said, I'm going to get something. I'm outside. So when I got out, I was only 40 years old, so I said, well, I got to go get another job. So I went into transportation again. So I drove a tractor trailer for a lot of people in Fort Wayne and then also Columbus City Freight Line here. We drove for 8 years with them, and then I worked for Food Marketing, which is a food supplier out of Fort Wayne, for 12 years, and then retired from them in 1993 after 20 years with them.
While you were in the service, did you make any close friends that you still keep in touch with?
Oh yes, the outfit was with in England. We have every 2 years have a reunion, and so far we've some of the places we went to is that we have a group. The group gets together. There's probably 50 of us out of the outfit that was in England together, and we started off with 3 people got together down in Louisville, Kentucky. And they decided, well, boy, it'd be nice to get together, you know. And that was back in 1960s. And so they said, one person do another. Pretty soon we had about 50 people, plus the wives, get together. And we've went everywhere from Wright-Patterson, Virginia, Florida, Nebraska, Tennessee, Nashville. We've been to San Antonio, we've been to Denver, Colorado Springs, we've been to Nebraska, different places every 2 years. Last year there was a Sarasota, Florida, and I got to miss that one. I had to miss that one because I was on chemo, and so I couldn't go. And now next year we're going to Nashville, Tennessee again. And,
did you join any of the veterans organizations then after?
Did I
join any of the veterans organizations?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I never joined. I tell you, with the kind of work that I was doing, the truck driving, I never had time to go out like that. So therefore, I was just never went to the VFW, the American, things like that. I just never did join them, and no reason other than that I just, it was not feasible for me to get there and do the things because I worked weekends and I worked harder then after I got out of service than I was in the service.
Really?
Oh yes, much harder.
How did your experiences when you were in the service and during the wars, were they able to prepare you for life out of the service?
Oh yeah, they had classes and so forth to get you initiated back into the service, back into the civilian, after being in the military for periods of time, you know. And they had schools for you. You could go to insurance sales jobs and post office and things like that. So they trained you when you wanted to get out. When you got ready to get out, well, you had something to go to.
Were you eligible for the GI Bill?
Yes, I was. I never used it.
You never took advantage of it?
I never took advantage of it. I even never used it, no. I did a little college while I was in the service, but I didn't go into graduate or anything like that as far as anything.
Are you retired now, Mr. Coulter?
Yes, I am.
You are.
Since 93. Yeah. 10 years already.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I just enjoyed the service while I was in the service. So, I mean, if I wouldn't have stayed in as long as I did. There's a lot of people go in and go to different countries, and some of them don't like it. And to see being different, I'll tell you, I enjoyed everywhere as I went. To England, I was in France for a while, just passing through, not staying any time, and Germany. And I like to see how the different people live and see the different countries. And the same way with when I went to Vietnam, we stopped in Hawaii, we stopped in the Philippines, and then to Vietnam. Vietnam was no place to be, but that's where we had to be. And come back, we went to Guam, and then back to the States, and you get to see a lot of country. Here in the States, there's still so many places here in the States that I haven't seen that I want to see. So yes, I enjoyed it. And now the service never paid you a lot while you was in, but now they have really came through. You still your pay is on the what do you call it? When the Social Security gets pay raises and so forth.
Cost of living?
Cost of living. We're service retirement pay is on cost of living, which has helped out a lot. Plus, when you get on Medicare, then you have to have a supplement insurance. The government's paying for our supplement insurance now completely, wife and all, and also paying for our medicine. We have mail-in medicine. So you're paying for about $9 for 90 days worth of supply of medicine. So, hey, they didn't pay us much while I was in, but now you're living long enough to be able to make out or get any helping us out.
Mr. Coulter, we'd really like to thank you for taking time and coming to talk with us today. We consider this is an important project, and we're just so glad that you could participate.
Well, I'm glad to help you. Thank you.